Hey guys, I'm Sarah,
And I'm Chris.
and we're both seniors here at Kentucky High School, and we're just going to go into what HOL is like and what you should expect for this year.
So we did HOL last year, and we were actually presented early. And the biggest advice that I think we both have would be time management, because it takes up a lot of time, and I know a lot of people save it to the last minute, but really distributing all the work over time was the biggest key to success for me.
And that's the same thing for me, and also just have a bunch of materials. Some people just go in having one or two things and they feel really stretched out, but this is something that you've been doing since freshman, sophomore, junior year, so you should have a lot of things built up that you can use in your project. It doesn't all have to be used from this year, you can use it from last year. Some people use their Slack project, I use my video production project. There's so many things that you can use.
And the biggest thing that helped me during my presentation itself was a visual. And I know that they encourage visuals, but it's not a requirement. And I know slideshows, I use a triboard personally, and that really helped keep me on track and keep me focused during my presentation. And it kind of takes a little bit of the attention off of you and more on your presentation itself. So it really made for a relaxed, more calm environment.
Yeah, I used a PowerPoint, and that was really good because then I could refer to that, and then instead of them looking at me the whole time, they would look at the PowerPoint, and then you could have objects that you would actually hand out and they would look at. And one other thing that I did was just constantly rehearse, so then you know how long it's going to be, how slow you should talk. Just prepare yourself, because it's things you're talking about yourself and what you've been doing, so you already know it. It's just putting it all together.
And we all did 5-minute rehearsals, and that really helped because it kind of gauges your time, because each one should be about 5 minutes. And just doing the 5-minute rehearsal with family or friends, it just really helps to make a smooth final HOL presentation. Here's some examples of some really strong HOL presentations.
This year in all my classes, all the teachers really reiterated the use of the 5 habits of learning: collaboration, communication, independence, thinking, and creative exploration.
The assignment was simply to read the chapter once. I discovered that I had to develop my own personalized method of studying in order to be successful in that class. So after discovering this very important detail about myself as a student, I decided I needed to develop a game plan in order to fully achieve success. So instead of just reading it once as was assigned, I took advantage of other outside resources in order to fully comprehend the material. Now, as an auditory learner, I have a greater understanding of things that I hear, as opposed to people who have an easier time visually. So I can't be expected just to look at something and be able to understand it with ease. I have to listen to it. I have to almost feel it. So what I did was, one of the resources I used was the site hippocampus.org, which is a website that greatly aids students by providing lectures on different subject matters. So for example, if I really wanted to grasp the causes and effects of the Great Depression, for example, I could just go on Hippocampus and listen. That way I would get the knowledge of a particular time in history from reading the assigned text, as well as further enhancing my appreciation for it by listening to the lectures. Okay, this song is titled, "What Would Our Founding Fathers Say?" The Tea Party Song. As a Tea Party member, I roam this country, and I cry over how far we're strayed from liberty. Can we just go back to the way we used to be? What would our founding fathers say? This land is your land, this land is my land, unless you're female, or you're a black man.
All right, just like to start off by saying congratulating the Bruins. Great game last night. Stayed up for the first 2 periods, but this was definitely one of the more difficult habits of learning for me. Communication. Communicating with another student has definitely always been easier. I've always been able to empathize and sympathize with another kid, be able to put myself in their shoes and see what the problem was like, so that I could be able to help them. I started JV my freshman year.
And then my next example of independence is through the athletic perspective. So I run cross-country track, indoor and outdoor actually. So I have pictures of me running down there, and typically when you hear a sport, you'd think, oh, that's like collaboration or communication, because you have to communicate with your teammates about what to do. But during cross country and track, it's a lot of independent, like working, like you have to be the one determined to accomplish your goal. And you're really the only one that can do that. You can contribute to the team like with placing and earning points for them, but you're the only one that's going to be able to better your time and push yourself at the end. So during cross country, indoor and outdoor track this year, I set a goal for myself was to qualify for the Division III state meet, and I was successfully able to qualify for that in all 3 seasons, which made me really happy. But during the process of the season, it was a lot of hard work. Like, I definitely didn't want to go out to practice every day and run hills or do speed workouts, because that was no fun at all. But then I came to a conclusion that I really had to push myself, and it always wasn't going to be fun if I wanted to accomplish that. So during track and indoor and cross country, I really had to keep in my mind that if I wanted to accomplish my goal of qualifying for states, I was going to have to be able to self-motivate myself and be determined to accomplish that goal.
What I'd like to talk about is independence. Note-taking has always been something that I've just had a tough time with. Sophomore year especially, I would take history notes, and I just wasn't into it, because I felt like I was just copying stuff from the book, and it wasn't the best way to learn for me. And I would always put it off, and I'd have 2 chapters to do, 8 sections, and my notes wouldn't be adequate, and then we'd have a quiz on it. Whether it was open notes or not, I wouldn't do well. I made a plan. I would do a little bit of history notes every night, no matter how much other homework I had. So by Thursday night, I only had a few paragraphs to do. And this helped me retain my information, and it much more adequate notes.
Unlike the Scarlet Letter, it's not so much about making an original meaning from the documents as applying your prior knowledge into history. And the DBQ is probably one of the scariest things I've ever had to do for school, because not only is it an in-class essay, but at the same time you have to analyze, I think it's 8 documents usually, and then apply those documents in your essay. And the first time I was just so caught up in the rush and trying to make my essay sound good that I really lost like the true importance of the DBQ.
So the next habit that I actually enjoyed, this habit, was communication. And with communication, there was several different forms and different ways that you could communicate with other people. And communication can be done through the form of writing, verbally communicating, and then you can also an author can communicate with you through reading. So you could communicate with the author, and they can tell you what was occurring during a certain time period and all of that. So aside from the speaking and writing part of communication, you also have to be able to listen, observe, and reflect back on what the communicator is trying to tell you. And communication involves a lot of listening skills too. You have to be able to understand what the speaker is trying to tell you. You really have to pay attention to what is going on at the time. So,
assignment that I used thinking in was physics. Physics is a really difficult class for me personally. So first you need to differentiate what the question is even asking. That's a process in itself. And then once you do that, it's often helpful to reword the question so that you understand what's asking better, and you can also draw diagrams to help you understand it. And labs often focus on main ideas of physics and applying it to real life. So we have to create graphs and do experiments that will apply to real life situations.
I would say the best advice for anyone that is getting ready to do their portfolio or their presentation is basically to kind of wrap your head around how important the actual habits are and how much they're actually used. Even though you might think, or you might hear people say how pointless the whole thing is, you really use each of them pretty much every single day. And once you kind of realize this and start to notice how much you use them in all the things that you do, it's much easier to kind of reflect and pinpoint examples for each one.
When you go to do your HOL presentation, you're going to walk in and there might not be a lot of people in there, but you're still probably going to be nervous because everybody's nervous about public speaking. But if you have like all the right materials and you're prepared, then it shouldn't be that big of a deal. And if you make a mistake during your presentation, just move on. Everybody makes mistakes, and it's not a big deal. And like for me, in the middle of my presentation, I dropped my microphone.
That we watched in history class. Yeah. Okay. Blood Diamond. For those who haven't seen the movie,
I just picked it up and kept going, and it ended up not fazing anybody at all. And people actually commended me for it, for not stopping and being embarrassed or getting down on myself. Just do what you came to do, and yeah.
I just started going really fast, like at the beginning, and like halfway through, I was like, all right, you just need to like slow down, like deep breaths, and it really helped me like get through the rest of my presentation, because if you go too fast, then it's just not going to be a very good project, and it's kind of makes you even more nervous when you're trying to fly through it. So take your time, deep breaths, because at first, like I went in there and I was just trying to get all the information out, and once I slowed down and just took a second to myself, then everything started to go a little bit better from there.
Don't just like rehearse it by yourself. Like I stood up and rehearsed it in front of my mom, my parents, and like one of my friends, and like I had them give me feedback on what I should change or what I should do differently or what I did really well. It's just, that's what is going to happen when you're doing your presentation anyways. People are going to give you positive and negative feedback, but you just have to take it in a positive way and try and make it better.
And if you guys ever have any questions, you can always ask us.